It is time to build up another Star Wars vehicle, and this time we will be building the Lambda Shuttle. So let's jump straight into that. Alright, so I've got a basic design for the first wing, just starting off at the bottom. We've got some grey wool and some white wool. I have put all these carpets on top. That is because technically this grey part doesn't show on the top half of the wing. It only really shows on the bottom part properly. And as well as that, I need to make this mob proof because this is going to be near my mob farm. So I needed to put all of the carpets on those, and I've got some stairs around the edge just to give it a bit more texture. Flat at the back. We've got one of these frog lights here for the lights on the ends of the wings. And I'm not sure if this is maybe a little bit too big, but I think it's probably the right size. Looking at some pictures, this is about 3 or 4 times as thick as the wing. So maybe it just looks a bit odd now because I don't have the rest of the build in. Got a couple more grindstones in here. This one's for the little gear mechanism, and then on the opposite way, this one is for the little cannons sticking out with a little roof over the top of those, whatever you call it, a little bit of shielding metal. And I actually went with the stone brick here. I could also use the andesite brick stairs, which is a data pack. So that wouldn't be typically vanilla. It's a bit more shiny, and I might use it, to be honest, in my actual world. Okay, so this is probably a little bit too wide, but that doesn't matter because it's the same pattern all the way across. And I think this looks quite cool actually, having the observers across and then some of the polished andesite here. And this would work the same if you did this with the vanilla texture, because it's only the one line on each block would just be moved across, and it would basically look like this bottom one here. Put some andesite walls in the corners and just smoothed out the edges a little bit. Unfortunately, because of those walls on the bottom, I do need to have these down here, so that doesn't quite line up. Right, I decided to make the wing bigger here, and I think it suits that size better, which gives me more space for building the cockpit as well. And I was just trying out a few different blocks back here, like some droppers and some crafters, to see what kind of angles we can put. Okay, and now we have the second wing added in, and I think it's starting to take shape now. My only concern is that this section here that connects the wing to the chassis of the ship isn't actually big enough really, but I think we can get away with it. Okay, so now I have a bit more detail on here. So I've worked out the kind of angle of the main chassis, and I have the thrusters in the back with the iron fences or iron bars covering those to show a bit of a grate. And I know where the bottom and the top of these are going to be. So we've got 3 blocks to work with on the sides, and in the middle will be slightly bigger. It has a bit of a lip to it, and then there needs to be a way into the main cockpit, which will hang down in front of this. Right, I've been doing a bit of playing around, and I've thinned out the actual main bit here because originally I had the slab like this, and I thought it didn't really look very good. It was a bit too thick, and I quite like the look of having just one slab. I also added in these cannons here, because there's a couple on each side. That's 7 end rods on each side. And of course I have put carpets all over the top. None of these carpets are necessary. These are simply because this is going to be an AFK spot for me, so I need to spawn proof it. So that is the general design of the lower half. I also moved these upwards. Any andesite or any polished andesite blocks I have, I'm using a texture pack for, so you can replace those with stone bricks. I've made a huge error. I managed to leave myself on an even in the middle, even though there's a wing going straight up. So I need to actually move all of these blocks 1 extra to the left, which is not going to be fun, but we'll do that and I'll be back. Okay, I have fixed the mess that I made, and now you'll see from here, from these cannons, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So it's an odd number, and I have done a rough design on the back just to extend it out a little bit. You'll see this section here is 3 tall with a layer up here, and that matches this. So the gap here actually matches the section down the bottom, In here I have put 2 rows of stairs, which is in line with these slabs. And then I actually angled these stairs in here and just put some blocks behind just to give it a bit of angle in there and a bit of a curve. And I've just made sure that these ones kind of stick out past it because this is kind of a hole in the ship connected, so these need to be disconnected from the black part. And then I placed these blocks here just to make it easier rather than having it flat on top, which would probably look better, but it's just easier for me to connect this. I can always go in and swap these out. And yeah, so it goes up one block and then one block on a diagonal and then a stairs, and then this is basically the roof, this part. And then from here you go you finish the block off for the roof, and then it's just 2 blocks up. I'm using carpet because I'm going to have to use that for spawn proofing, but so because of that I'm also using wall blocks in it, otherwise it would look kind of weird if it just had carpets laying on top. You can of course make this all out of quartz, it doesn't need to be wool, it's obviously just a block that I have a lot of to fill out the spaces. I ended up taking a little break from building this because it was taking quite a bit longer than the other ones. I mean, everything else here took me about an hour to build, except from the speeder bike. And this is so far up to 2.5 hours. So I had a few little inspirations. I added some different blocks in. I started using some smooth stone just for different areas. And I built up the main wing here. So this one comes up one block and it's surrounded by stairs and slabs, and it goes up 3 stairs, up 1 block, and then these are all up 1 stairs, up 1 stairs, all the way to the top where I have the frog light, and then slabs across the top, and this side is 4 down, and then 5 down, and then 6 down. And I also included this in here because the grey was a bit too dark, so I used the smooth stone to just make it a bit less dark. And when you take a step back, it kind of blends in a lot better. As well as I've added the white concrete in to create the effect of lines, because there is lines on there, but I can't really connect them up properly and make them particularly detailed. I also finished off the back, and I put smooth stone in here as well. My signature move now, I put 4 lodestones in for no other reason other than I have to do it in every build. I have to do it now. This is a thing. I don't know. This is what it is. A couple of the grindstones, and I also added the fence gate. I completely forgot you can do this. And another block that I forgot you actually can use. Instead of end rods, I could use lightning rods. But I think I'll consider that for the next build, since this is mostly white anyway. And I also added the fence gates into the front here on these ones as well. I now have the completed design. You might notice I added a few buttons on here just for a bit more details, and some on the wings. So you can see roughly where they're positioned there. I've obviously added the cockpit in. Obviously more buttons on this side as well, matching the other side. And the other changes I made were just the design on the bottom. Nothing too complicated, just something to look a bit mechanical and have some lights on there and look like there's some hatches and things. This is actually the chiseled tough bricks, which I thought looked quite nice for the bottom. Then we move on to the final step, which was the cockpit, which was, to be honest, an absolute nightmare trying to get this shape right with this. And I still don't know if it's 100%, but it's what I'm going to build in my world, and maybe when I'm building it I might find a little bit of a better way to do it. But for now I've got the andesite here, the diorite here. That's because originally I used the quartz and it blended in so much that you just couldn't tell the shape of the actual head part, and as soon as I did this it all started to come together a lot better. Just got the tunnel basically where you go to the cockpit, and the shape here was, I mean, I don't even know where to begin to explain it, to be honest. And that brings me to this point of, I've made these episodes just to show like how I go about building it, and give you some angles that you can take some reference from if you want to build it. Obviously I could do a block by block tutorial, but for this one, for example, it's quite large and that's a lot of blocks for me to know exactly where I'm placing them without me taking breaks to check that I've put it in the same place as I did here, which I'm going to have to do in my world anyway. And then you go to the opposite end where you have the speeder bike, and this is so small you could literally look at it and know how to build it. But the ones in the middle here, they would be a lot easier to do block by block. So I mean, if anyone specifically wants a tutorial on one of these, I can have a go at making it. Never tried before. It will just take me a little bit of preparation, and I'm thinking about doing it anyway. But for now, this is the blocks. Obviously there's stairs, slabs, and these are separate slabs, but then you've got full blocks. The glass was a little bit tricky to put in, but I kind of did that first, and it almost looks like ears on it. There's a couple of bits sticking up, so just getting the shape on those right. And I used a few more observers down here for the front grille part with some upside down stairs. So that's the design, and I'm very happy with it. And also there is space in here, so I can sit in here and AFK while I sit near the farm, and I can also just do a little bit of interior design in here, make all the seats and things, so it just kind of fits the atmosphere and is quite consistent with the rest of the builds. So overall, I'm very happy with that, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And like I said, if you desperately want me to do a tutorial on exactly how to build it, I can do that, but the idea is to give some inspiration on what kind of blocks I use and the kind of angles that I place things in. Thanks for watching, and I hope this inspired you for your builds.